Welcome back to Frank's Model Aviation Workshop. In this episode we're going to be moving on to finishing up the fuselage. Got a lot to do on it. Got to do some more superfill on the fillets and around the scoop. Got to finish up the cowl, get it cut for the exhaust, do some interior cockpit work, and some more superfill along the wing fillets and stuff. But there's quite a bit to do, and hopefully by the end of this video I'll have it at least in primer, if not painted. That's my goal. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of future episodes, and be sure to like and share my videos. I'd really appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I was fiddling around with the Retract. I want to get the Retract servo mounted. And the instructions showed a micro servo or a mini servo mounted in there. And I don't think it had enough torque to fully actuate the valve. And I'll show you a clip. I'll include a clip to show the before and after. But I went ahead and I just made a hole big enough in here to put just a regular size servo in there. It added another few grams, that's fine, but I'll show you all that. But it's working perfectly now. I got a before and after Retract demo, so you can see that. I also painted the gray on the chin cowl. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. So anyway, we'll include those couple clips of the before and after so you can see. And then I'm going to get on to doing the superfill. I'm not going to film the superfill. I already did that before, so I'm just going to do the superfill off camera. And when I do something new, I'll come back to doing the whatever it is that I'm doing. I do have to cut in those exhaust stacks, so that's going to be fun. Can't wait to try that. Anyway, I'll get them clips in here and show you those, and we'll get on to whatever's next. Well, I don't like that. It's like it's binding somehow, but I've got a straight run, and the actuator is not allowing it to go smoothly, you know, because it's got to be sealed, so it's not going to be perfectly smooth. I don't know whether it'll wear itself in before it burns out that servo. I don't know, but it's not sounding good. I'm going to hook the wing up and see my stuff work. She's affixed. Okay, it's been about an hour. I just wanted to demonstrate this alcohol dip routine I do for smoothing out the superfill. Now, if you do it right, you may not have to sand at all. I mean, it doesn't leave any air bubbles anywhere in this stuff, so it's really good stuff. And you want to have lots of towels ready because you don't want to like have superfill on your finger as you go. So make a swipe, clean your finger off, re-dip, make a swipe. That's going to be my routine, so we'll start doing that. I'm using isopropyl alcohol. And if you mess up, you can always redo it. And I'll show you the end product. What I'm trying to do here is just feather that a little bit. And I'm just going to make the other side match this side. on this scoop, I just want a little fillet along the sides. Okay, I'll take you off the camera and or take you off the tripod and show you what I got here. So as you can see, it's very smooth. I'm just gonna probably go over it with some 320 on a 1/4 inch dowel maybe, but that's how I wanted it to look. So in this upper fillet, I'm using a 1/2 inch round dowel with some 320. And I'm just sanding it until I get a nice radius, and then I'm feathering it into the fin and the stabilizer, and then I'm just working this. I just basically formed this just out of Super-Fil. There's no balsa right here. It's just gonna be a nice smooth fillet right there in the front of the fin, which is what I wanted. Didn't want too much of a fillet on the stabilizers though, because on the plane that I'm emulating it doesn't have a fillet there, but it does have one there. So I'll just do this a little bit. It sands pretty easy. Takes a while with 320. I mean, you can use 80 to get it to where you want it first. Like I can show you. Start off with 80 and get you close. But it sands down really fast. See? Nice. Just get it where you semi want it, and then switch over to the 320. It's kind of hard to get you in here real close. I'll try to switch closer. Maybe you can see that my arm's going to be in the way. So it's getting close to the radius that I'm looking for. You want to be careful you don't get into your wood though. You just stay on the Super-Fil. Then when you're close, just switch over to your 320 again. And smooth it out and feather it. I still have to do the fillets on the wings. I don't know how well it's picking up, but you can see it shaping up. Really close to getting this thing done, and all I have to do is, after I do these Super-Fil, is prime. Well, I can't even prime yet. I gotta do those exhaust stacks yet. Not looking forward to that. That's gonna be a tricky thing to do, but it'll get done. And I double check it with the other side, make sure it looks the same, feels the same. Getting close. And on my dowels, I just have like a 4-inch dowel and I rounded the ends. So when I'm sanding, the sandpaper will give a little bit on the end. You probably didn't see it, but it's just a 4-inch dowel. And I got a 1/4-inch dowel the same way. Just so I don't have a sharp edge on the dowel when I'm sanding. And I'm sure everybody has their own way of sanding stuff. It's just my way. May be totally wrong. I don't know. That's where I'm going with though. So you want to be able to have a smooth transition. You know, I love the building part of these planes. It's the finishing part that I don't really care for because it takes longer than the build if you want it to look good. But, you know, it's all part of the hobby. It's all part of the game. So I'm going to switch over to a 1/4-inch round to go around the front of this stabilizer. Just to smooth it. Just make sure it matches the other side. Looks pretty good. I'll flip it over and I'll use a 1/4-inch dowel on the bottom side. It's got a lot more to sand off, so I'm going to switch over to the 80. Start with it. This will get the initial shape. Swap them back over. Now all this stuff on the outside, I just use a regular sandpaper on it. Get rid of the drips. And we'll get back on the 320. Probably not even keeping this in the camera. It's kind of hard to see what I'm filming. Got little drips. When you use the alcohol with the Super-Fil, it drips, and sometimes it'll have a little Super-Fil drip down there. It's easy to sand off though. When I'm done, I'll tack it off, and then I'll bring you around and show you what it looks like done. So I think I'm happy with the way it looks. Just kind of shaping up that fin fillet. Looks like it's pretty good. All right, I'll tack it off and then I'll bring it around and show you. Okay, so there's the underside of the left. Try to do this without dropping the fuselage. Now these little pock marks like that, the high build primer will fill that in. Nice and smooth. And there's the right side. They need a little more work right there, but it's coming around. I'm getting happy with it. Okay, so I got my wing fillets taped off. I'm just going to do just a little strip here just to soften that transition between the fuselage side and the wing fillet here. Did the same thing on the other side, so I'm gonna mix up some Super-Fil and get these done so they can set up. They gotta set for an hour before I can start molding them and stuff. So we'll get that taken care of, and then once the Super-Fil is done, I gotta do the exhaust stacks, which not really looking forward to, but it's gotta get done, or else use the kit exhaust stacks, and I don't really want to do that. So anyway, we'll get to it. Okay, I got it gooped on both sides. I know it looks like a lot, but after an hour and I smooth it out, I take a lot of it off. So we'll let that go an hour, come back and smooth it out, and then take the tape off. All right, so now we're gonna take this tape off as carefully as possible. You don't want to rip your Super-Fil off, so we're gonna lift it up and kind of like angle it out so it tears out away from the fillet you're trying to make. You're probably not gonna be able to see this very well in the video. I'll show you the end result when I'm done. This is after an hour of sitting. While this is drying, I was messing around with my cockpit trying to get things scale looking. I don't think I'm gonna put a pilot in it. I'm just going to put the seat in it and the instrument panel and the control stick. And I think I'm gonna call it good, because it's just gonna be it's not gonna be a Top Gun type scale plane. I'm just gonna make it to where it looks decent when it's flying. So that's basically what it looks like. I'll do the other side. Then we'll break out the alcohol and have a few drinks. No, I'm just kidding. We'll start smoothing this out and molding it. I'll probably do that off camera because I already showed you that on another video. Oops. Alright, so we will start to mold this. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it like that. What you need is some rubbing alcohol. And you want to keep your finger wet because if it's dry at all, and you want to keep some towels handy because you're going to, if you get excess, you want to be able to wipe it off on the towel. So you just keep your finger wet. And you just, as long as your finger's wet, you can mold that all day long. Well, you know, within your hour time frame, but you can see how that just smooths right out. I got way more than I needed on there. Just work your way up. I'm trying to start the fillet before it hardens. That way I have less to sand. You can tell when you're starting to see fingerprint scrape off onto your Super-Fil, it's time to re-dip your finger. You want to work fairly quickly because you want to make sure that you get done in time. When I get this done, smoothed out with my finger, I'll bring you around and show you. After I get the other side done. The key is to smooth it out as much as you can now so you have less to sand later. I'm going to take that rag, I'm going to just go along that, all that soupy wetness. Try to get some of that off. See, it comes off pretty good on the rag, so that way it's less you got to sand as well. Alright, I'm going to call that side done. Maybe. Might bump the camera, I'm coming behind. You can't really mess this up unless you run a dry finger over it. You can work it for a while. What I like to do is just wet it and then come back over and just keep going over it with your finger. I can feel it starting to harden up already, so I'm going to try to hurry. And even if you don't get it both sides perfectly identical, you can always sand it identical. I'm not too worried about that either. This stuff's so good, you can take some of it that you took off and just work it into your fillet, and it'll turn out just fine. Say you took some off here, you took too much off, you can always put it back on. There's the right wing fillet. Looks a little rough, that's fine. It'll sand. It'll sand really easy with 80 grit. And there's the left fillet. We'll let that set overnight, come back, and we will sand it up. And then we're ready to do some more work on this thing. So I was messing around with my JP Warbird's accessories, and I ordered a 1/7 scale seat, and that's the only part of the seat I need because I don't have a full cockpit. So I know the seat top ends at his shoulders like that, and then I fashioned a headrest which will go there roughly, and it'll get painted, of course. But that's where I'm at on my cockpit detail. Still have the instrument panel to fashion in there and build up the front here and put my gun sight on. Not sure how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm not going to put the pilot in it because it's going to be a static display after the first flight. So pilots don't usually sit in their planes 24/7. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm not going to glue any of this in until I get the inside painted. Okay, it's the next day, and I'm sanding out the wing fillets. Once I get this done, I'm going to work on cutting in the engine or the exhaust stacks. This is turning out awesome. It's a very smooth transition. Of course, you'll find out when the paint goes on what it really looks like. I'm going to start with the primer though. But I'm happy with this side right now. I'm going to flip over to the other side and get that done. I have got a mess to clean up. Okay, I'm getting set up to cut in the exhaust stacks. But before I do that, I'm going to clean up this mess. I feel like I'm buried. So, got to clear my head, clean up this mess, and then take some careful measurements, because once I'm cut into this thing, it's done. So, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, in order to make sure these things go on, you know, the exhaust stacks, in order to make sure they go on perfectly straight, perfectly level on both sides, I have the fuselage side glue line here that I'm going to use to extend all the way out. I'll do that on both sides. I'm just going to make basically a datum line so that I have a reference line of, or level, I should say. I still have to figure out where on the sides that I'm going to place the exhaust, how wide my channel's got to be, and the spacing of the exhaust stacks. I'm still struggling with. I'm not sure how I want to do that yet, but I'm going to go ahead and run this line out so that I have a reference. I know 2 stacks are on the opposite side of the firewall. This is the firewall line, and then the rest are out front. So that's how I'm going to know. I just got to figure out, do I want them 1 inch apart, 7/8 inch apart, or what? But I'm going to first start by drawing that line out. Okay, so I've laid out. What I did is I took my clear ruler And I know my spinner is 4 inches, so I set it up to where I knew it was exactly up and down on the fuselage vertically. And I split the 4 inches, and there's my 2-inch mark. And I ran a straight line parallel with the top of the fuselage side. So that is my exact center line. And the exhaust stacks are centered between the front of the fuselage before the spinner and the wing saddle right here. And right there is my center line, or my center mark. And also the exhaust stacks set above, I'll show you if I can get this off the table. Whoops. I lost it, damn it. I'll use the other side. Anyway, it's set above the fuselage, or the center line on the spinner. So they will be centered in there above the center line. Now I just have to figure out how wide I need to make that cut line. This is gonna be a long, drawn out process, so I'm gonna do some thinking on it, and I might do one side and then come back and show you the other side, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so according to my the picture that I just put up there, this should be where they're placed. Now, I may spread them out a little. I think they look good like that. Plus, you know, you got to realize they're going to be set in. They're not going to be sticking out that far. So I'm thinking this is what I'm going to go with. Same on the other side. Yeah, and this front section here where it's square, I'm gonna round that off because it's round. And this back section here will, you know, have that scallop. So I'm thinking I like that spacing. Let's see what it looks like from the top. That don't look too bad. I think I might go with that. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I know it's gonna be a 5/8 inch channel. And as predicted, these two are behind the firewall. These are in front. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this piece, and I'm just gonna channel it out, set it in, and I'm gonna use my Dremel and grind out part of the firewall to get that whole thing in there straight. Instead of having to put two separate pieces in there, because then you're risking them not lining up, and it's already, you know, gonna be hard enough getting these things in there. I just put a little piece of tape on the end of my 1/8 by 1/4 inch stubs that I had in there just to keep them from falling off. But I'm gonna get them all lined up as perfectly as I can. Anyway, that'll be the goal. I should mock up one an inch apart, but I think 7/8 is gonna be good enough. We will see. I ain't gonna lie, I am nervous as all get out. What I think I might do, I might cut out before the line and then use a file or something to get me to the line. And then whatever I have to do to the firewall, I'll probably have to use my Dremel for that. But I gotta keep it within that line for these to fit right. So there's where I'm at, and here goes nothing. I won't be filming it, by the way. I'm gonna just whittle away at it. I might film the second one if this one goes good. We'll see how it goes. Okay, well there's the left side hole. I had to put 3/16" square right in there to fill in that hole. And I put just a sheet of 1/8 behind the firewall. About like that, not as long though. And I buttered up against the firewall. Got my channel in there deep enough to where when I put that exhaust in there, it seals up all the way around. You don't want any gaps. So I have a slight gap, but gap filling CA will fix that up. And after it's painted, you won't even see it. It's gonna be black inside there anyway, but I'll give you a demonstration of how this is gonna go in there. It just slides in. And I see that mark right there? That lines up with that. Slide right in. And I put it in pretty deep, about like that. And you know, when I go to glue it up, I'll have it in there tighter, and it's gonna be about like that. But there's just a slight gap there. But man, I still have to, I'm gonna take that 3/16" square, and I'm putting dividers up in here every two, because that's the way that it is on the real P-40, and I still got to sand in that scallop back here. I'll do that after I get the other side mocked up. And then I'll get these bases glued in permanently, paint them with some thinned out epoxy resin, and then I'm ready to prime. I'm ready to prime this thing. I'm going to prime the inside of the cockpit too. I had this mocked up. It was raised up a little bit, but man, I wasn't happy with it. I'm not sure why, but it wasn't even on both sides, so I got to figure out what's going on there. But anyway, back to doing the exhaust. Boy, there's a lot of dust. I was wearing a mask too. Anyway, I'll get back to doing the other side. We'll get these exhausts knocked out. And I think I'm going to call this, after I get the exhaust done, I'm going to call this an episode, because I'm already over an hour. So that's good enough. There she is. Hard part's over, guys. Now, I'm going to glue those bases in. And then we're on to priming. Sweet. All right, I got my dividers in. I need sanded yet. Did my scallop on both sides. Not the most perfect thing, but good enough. But all I gotta do is sand those a little bit. I got 2 coats of thinned out resin on there, inside and out. And I went around the airframe and touched up any resin that needed touched up. But that's it for the engine exhaust stack cut-ins. They're done. Next step is the priming and painting of the fuselage, and I got to do something with this interior. I got most of it done. I got the chair fixed up and the headrest made. Got to figure out what I'm going to do here. Not looking forward to that. But I'll fix something up. It'll look all right. So anyway, that'll probably be it for this episode. Got a heck of a lot done. And the hard part's over. It's all finishing work now. Well, that'll about do it for this episode. We got quite a bit done. Got all my superfill done on the fillets. They all turned out really good, nice and smooth. Got my engine exhaust stacks cut in. Only thing I got left to do is sand just a little bit around that area. And I got my 2 coats of thin resin on there to kind of seal it up. Got my Retracts servo all fixed up. It don't drain, or it's not gonna burn out on me anyway. Gotta do some cockpit detail work and put this thing in primer. I think I'm gonna primer it first. I don't know, we'll see. But next episode will be priming and painting the fuselage, engine up, the tail surfaces, and getting this thing finished up. We're so close to being done with this thing, I can almost see it flying. So anyway, if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified of future episodes. And be sure and like and share my videos. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, until the next episode, thanks for watching.